the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit Oracle. This has been a wildly popular deck for a long time, and it's one that I'm finally now picking up to explore. I thought it would be fun to take you through 1 month with my deck as I get to know it, use it for different spreads, think about the deck itself, what the book offers, and come to you with my final thoughts. If you're only interested in the deck flip through and my final thoughts, please feel free to skip to the end. Otherwise, I'm so excited to take you on this journey with me as I explore and get to know the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit Oracle over the next month. Alright, let me get you a puppet pumpkin. Alright, good boy, sit. Can you sit? That's a good sit. That's a good puppy sit. Wait. Wait. Okay, good. Get it, good boy. All right, welcome to my super aesthetic camper living room floor. I am doing my little morning yoga session this morning, and I've been really focusing on making it a more sacred and spiritual act. And I have this deck, which I'm hoping to do this series with. So if you're seeing this, obviously that happened. I have opened it and quickly looked at it, but I was trying to save it for an official unboxing video. But you know what? We're just gonna open it, and I really feel like pulling a cards for this session. So of course we had to document the first card reading. I'm not going to talk about the box and all my thoughts or anything like that. We'll do that in another part of this video, but we're just gonna get the deck out and pull a cards for this session because I've really been focusing on sort of moving through things, especially since we just went through the dark moon, new moon season. I'm just gonna go ahead and light some sage here just because I haven't done anything with this deck yet. I want to make sure the messages we're getting are really clear. Yep. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to go ahead and open the window to let out any of those energies. All right, that's done. 2 feet, 4 feet, scales are high. May our minds stay open and our wingspans wide. Ooh, I love that. All right, I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little unsure about this deck and how I'm gonna feel about it, and infuse my energy back into each of the cards after I've cleared them. All right, so we got this all shuffled. Okay, oyster on the bottom. I'm gonna take a sip of my cognitive blue juice stuff here and connect in, and then we will pull a card to anchor my yoga session. So what energy should I be focused on embodying or moving through during my yoga practice today? So we have the fish, which right off the bat, of course, I can see is a water card, so I know this is going to have to do with emotions. And we also have the crescent moon here, which is a little bit of a nod to kind of the cycle that we're in at the moment. So it's this few days after the new moon, you know, that sliver will start coming back. And it also reminds me of the moon card in tarot, which is all about working with the subconscious and the inner workings and underlying things that we have going on, which I had just said was a big theme that I'm working through at the moment. So I'm excited to see what additional meanings that has for me in the guidebook. And then here we have the raccoon, and this is an earth card. I don't know a ton about raccoons. I always just think of, like, you know, the typical trash bandit, but they also have that mask. So I'm thinking of really like the concept of grounding in who I am, who I'm becoming, and focusing on, you know, having that lens of darkness, having that lens that we're working through these things, but really uncovering and taking that mask off, and a sort of a rebirth theme. That's kind of what's coming up for me at the moment with that. So let's see what the guidebook has to say about that. All right. Again, I definitely am going to dive into the deck itself, into the different things that are contained within the guidebook, but because we're just kind of doing a quick first impression reading, we're just going to skip all of that information in the front. Okay, so it looks like they are divided up by their elements, which is nice. I'm just going to flip to each one and kind of open the book because it has that like new stiffness to it, and I really want to be able to have this not pop open while I'm trying to read my card here. All right, so Earth, need to look for the raccoon. Here we go. So, talented, shadowy, and hiding. Raccoon energy is at play within all artists to greater or lesser degrees. At best, it indicates talent, tenacity, and skillfulness with a particular musical instrument or creative tool. That is so random. Its shadow side points to an unresolved issue around self-image and success. Sometimes using a stage name or wearing a mask works in an artist's favor. Other times it limits creativity. Am I who my audience thinks I am? What if I'm ready to grow into something more? Raccoon energy won't let us off the hook until this creative ego fear is resolved. When in balance, generous friend, exceptional artist. When out of balance, competitive, starving artist. To bring into balance, make new work. Okay, this is so interesting because I'm filming this as a new video series for you guys that I'm hoping to do. So I am literally making new work. I'm also, of course, moving my body, you know, and flowing through different self-image things. That is really interesting. And it did kind of nod to the mask element that I was speaking about. So that's pretty cool. We're going to quickly take a look at the fish here, and then I got to hop into my flow so we can get on with the day. Fish, restlessness, change of focus, lost in the current. Nothing pleases it more than movement, and more movement. The roaming lifestyle of the fish may be exhilarating for a while, but usually leads to weariness and slippery relationships. With all the possibilities out there in the vast waters, the fish becomes lost without clear goals or intentions. Spend some time with the lunar forces, dear fish, as the peace and calm of the moon will soothe your soul. When in balance, adaptable, travels well. When out of balance, distracted, changes mind often. To bring into balance, set a small goal and accomplish it. This is very interesting. So obviously there's a lot. It says movement, which directly relates to what I was looking at, but it also is talking about being more clear with goals and intentions. And this morning, as I was drinking my coffee and kind of preparing for my day, I was thinking more about how I really need to make a plan for, you know, everything that I'm intentionally sharing and creating with you for kind of the rest of the season here, the winter cycle. So that was interesting. Not what I expected, but I can definitely see that instantly. You know, it connected, it picked up on themes that I was working with and clearly communicated them both through me intuitively looking at the cards, but also with the messages in the guidebook. I don't know how thrilled I am with this guidebook, to be honest, but you know, I'm not gonna knock it off of first impressions. So I'm just gonna shuffle this real quick, put it back together. Oh, and then I stop shuffling and the fishes on the bottom. I'm gonna get to my yoga session and get my ass moving, but I hope that you enjoyed this kind of little first look at this. And so far, definitely enjoying the messages and the little kind of tidbits that this has to offer, and I'm excited to continue with this deck throughout the next month or so and update you guys on, you know, how it's going, how I'm feeling, and all that fun stuff. So I'm gonna go, and I'll see you again soon. So today is day 7. It's been a week since I started using the Wild Unknown Animal Oracle. I've done a couple of daily card pulls with this deck, and they were okay. They weren't like the best, but you know, they worked. I got the gist out of it. So it'd be fun to do something different with the cards, and I used them in my reflections. There's a reflection exercise that I teach in my Manifesting a Magical Life membership, and one of the exercises during the reflection process involves choosing cards to let you know what you should be focusing on next as you move into the next month. It's a really insightful spread. So anyway, I decided to use this deck for the month of January, so kind of predicting for February here. And I struggled a little bit. I didn't find it to be a super seamless read. I thought that the messages weren't really kind of working with what I was trying to do, and trying to pull out the messages felt very clunky in the moment. But when I went back a couple days later and actually like read back what I had written, whatever I pulled out of there did make sense. So it did work, but I don't think that I would use this deck again for this particular exercise. I'm still like trying to find my way with it, and I don't know, it doesn't seem like a perfect fit. You know, when you go try on clothes and you're like, well, it fits, but there's like just like something that doesn't feel quite right about it, and you can't put your finger on it. That's how I'm feeling about this deck at this point. So I'm going to continue, of course, with my daily draws and see how that goes. Basically, what a daily draw is, if you don't know, you just, at the beginning or the end of the day, you draw a card that's either kind of, what do I need to know today, or pretty much that. You can have many more different focuses for that, but that's pretty much what I do. Like, what do I need to know right now, or what do I need to know as I move into my day? It's kind of usually what I do for that, and sometimes at night, I'll just pull a card, you know, what do I need to know now? It's one of my favorite ways to get to know a deck, because you get to have like a lot of different cards pop out and get to know the different ones. So I'm going to continue to do that with the deck, and I'll check back in with you again soon. All right, let's talk about my feelings about the deck so far before we get into final thoughts. So right around the 2 or 3 week mark, I was very disappointed with the deck. I had some really potent readings with the deck in the beginning. I felt like when I pulled cards, it was exactly what I was going through on my journey and made total sense. And then when I tried to just do like, you know, a card a day for something to think about, I felt very disconnected from whatever card I was drawing, and it just didn't feel like it all fit together. Well, I also used it kind of in reverse. I was seeing spiders quite a bit, so I went into the deck and I pulled out the spiders and I read the message that was in the guidebook for that. And I did find that the messages were in a line with what I intuitively think when I think of spiders. It also did coincide with some things that I had going on. So now that I've kind of done all of that, and I'm about at the 1 month mark now with the deck, I am very, very torn on this deck. Part of me enjoys it at times, and the other part of me really is just quite annoyed and frustrated with it. So I'm gonna take this time to do a deck interview with it. I don't interview all my decks, but I do find if I'm struggling to connect with the deck, that interviewing it and getting to know it a little better is helpful. And I thought we could just kind of breeze through that together. I won't make you sit through the whole thing, but I'm gonna go ahead and use, this is my spiritual handbook, Book of Shadows, Grimoire, whatever you want to call it. Anywho, I'm going to do my deck interview that I have within there. I hope that being propped up like that doesn't make anybody too funky. I also would like to look at the guidebook and just see if there are any, it's funny, the dragon's on top. I would just like to see if there are any spreads in here. To be honest, okay, there are. To be honest, I usually am super excited to read the information that the creator has at the beginning of the book and get to like understand their deck and where they were at. And I got about this far in and I was just so, I was not feeling it. So I just stopped and didn't read the rest of it, which, you know, it is what it is. I glanced quickly at the structure so that I could understand that, but I didn't dive much further into it. I just, like I said, I've been really having an issue connecting with this deck. Okay, so card a day, past, present, future, pretty standard, path and obstacle, relationship spread, I don't do those, year ahead spread, and that's it. So nothing really that's personal to the deck, nothing that could tell me more about like what type of readings it likes to do. The relationship one in here is kind of random. First, we are going to clear the deck / kind of connect in with it. First one is the personality card. Next we have, what readings do you do best? Strengths as a deck, weaknesses as a deck, and what are you here to teach me? All right, we have the beaver on the bottom, which I don't know what that means, but there it is. So personality is the fox. What readings do you do best? We got 2 of the eggs. Strength as a deck is the mouse. Weaknesses as a deck is the raccoon. What are you here to teach me is spider and peacock. Interesting. I already have a little bit of a feeling about this, so that's different. So I'm gonna pour through the guidebook, write down what I get from these cards, and we'll go from there. Okay, so let's talk about the results of my deck interview. It's so funny when I do these, especially after I'm struggling with a deck, because it just like clarifies what the disconnect I'm having is. And I realize if I had done it at the beginning, my journey with this deck probably would have been different. But I don't know, I like that kind of exploration of feeling each other out before sitting down and having like that conversation, right? The Wild Unknown Spirit Oracle deck interview for me. Now, the personality of decks when you interview them can always be different for different people, especially since they are targeted around what the deck is here to work with me on. So if this deck works differently for you, I'm not saying that it works wrong for you. This is just my interview with the deck. So, personality is the Fox, which I thought was very surprising because it said, you know, the Fox is this mysterious teacher and wants to be an adaptable, lifelong friend. Foxes mate for life. And I was like, well, I don't feel like we can be that. I was immediately like, I don't think so. But as I continued through the questions, I started to understand. So readings it does best. With the Cosmic Eggs, it was saying that they're really aimed at truth and connectedness, and they're associated with the throat and crown chakra. So the readings that these decks do best are ones where you're already clear and in a place to be honest, like about what it is that you're using the deck for. The deck really doesn't like to do readings that are kind of explorative or when you're initiating or ending something. It really likes to do readings where you're kind of already along your path and you already have clarity and you just need like reinforcement on that clarity. That was kind of what I got out of that. So that was interesting. Then we have Strengths, which is the Mouse. The Mouse is really focused on detail and like so quick, potent messages that are very specific because it's Strengths. The Raccoon is all about shadow creativity and questions about personal love and identity, which it is supposed to be the weaknesses of the deck, which is hilarious because those are all things that I'm working on literally right now. Like those are all my current themes of things that I'm working on is shadow work, creativity, questions around purpose, personal love, personal identity. So it was interesting to see through the interview that the deck was like, well, we're kind of not in tune right now because the types of readings that I need right now are its weakness. It's not its strength. So it's not that we're not jiving together because the deck's not right for me. It's because we're just not on the same page at the moment. Basically was what I got out of that. And then, what are you here to teach me specifically? So it said to be confident and slow down in the digestion and integration of experiences, which could also mean the messages that it's saying. Recognize that you're one of a kind and to focus on the process rather than results. And here to support in the weaving web. Oh my gosh, I can't talk. Basically, weaving everything together in my karmic story, which was very profound, I thought, and unexpected. So overall, this deck, according to the interview that we just conducted together, is here for long-term support. It does best on readings where you're already in some type of path, where you're already kind of stable on the path and you're just looking to like make sense of it all. You're not discovering, you're like digesting everything that's already going on, and you're already very like in a high vibe state because it deals with the throat chakra and the crown chakra. So those are really like higher chakras. So it's really not a deck that you can use for shadow work. It's not a deck that wants to be used kind of day-to-day weeding through things. It's really very specific in its purpose, and it wants to help you integrate and digest the different themes and things that are going on within your life, which to me kind of is like shadow work, but I guess that would be the integration part of it. So it's really a deck focused on helping you integrate and look at minute details. I also thought it was funny when it said to slow down in the digestion. And the reason I found that funny was because when I was looking at the guidebook, I'm a Scorpio, so that's hilarious. But I was kind of let down, I thought, with the guidebook because it's just like a couple keywords, which I do appreciate. And then it has a very it has like one sentence, sometimes two, about the specific animal. And then the rest of it's just like a divinatory blurb. And then a couple of like things about shadow and light of the card. And I'm somebody, as in my Scorpio nature, really likes to dive deep. I want all the information. I want to explore all the themes. I want to like really just be like, I want it to be a mystery. Like I want to go in and be like, help me understand this. And then like pull 50 cards and be like, oh my God, this is how it all connects together. And if I'm going to pull one card, I want like 2 full pages of information that I can comb through and digest and see which part of it applies to my life. So for it to be like, no, I'm here to make you like slow the F down and really digest the small pieces was funny. I'm feeling better about the deck now that I did the interview. I'm still feeling like maybe right now this isn't our prime time to work together, but I'm willing to give it another chance to get to know it a little better. And now that I know it's not really one of those like daily decks, it wants to be a ride or die deck, but it wants to be a ride or die deck for specific drawings. So when I'm kind of out of my current things that I'm working on, which are the weaknesses of the deck, and into more of a space where this deck can really shine and do its thing, I'm excited to pick it back up and get to know it a little better during that time. But for now, I think I'm just going to put it away and we'll go from there. All right. 30 days later, the Wild Unknown Animal Oracle. Bonus points if you can count how many times I said that in this video. Let's talk about my final thoughts and review of the deck. This is actually my second time filming the review of this deck because something happened after I filmed my final thoughts the first time. So after I did the interview spread, I just went ahead, even though I hadn't gone to the full month mark yet, I did my final review and I put the deck away in my cabinet. So that was on February 17th. Then February 22nd, one day before the official like 30-day 1 month mark with the deck would have been, I was doing my nighttime meditation and 3 cards from the deck appeared in like my mind's eye during my meditation, and I was like, okay. So I went in the deck, I found those 3 cards, I looked it up in the guidebook, and it was a very nice message for something that I was working on. I don't even remember what it was at the moment. I just remember thinking like, wow, that was weird. That like doesn't happen to me. I don't get visions of cards usually in my meditations to like look up. So it was very interesting experience and very cool. So I guess I'm gonna keep the deck. I was really like 1000% honest, you guys. I have been looking at this deck for years. Didn't really buy it. Finally bought it. Was very disappointed with most things about it, except for the artwork. And I was gonna give it away. Like, I was just like so upset about it. But obviously this deck has bigger plans for us working together. I thought when I filmed this video it was going to be very nice, like, oh yay, I got a new deck, watch me connect with it and have all like the fun readings, and then I can tell you about its great personality and if the deck is for you. But this video totally did not go the way that I planned. But I think it was really cool that it played out that way, because the truth of the matter is we don't always click with the decks, right? So hopefully it gave you some fun ideas of how you can try different techniques to work with the deck if you're having a hard time clicking with it. Overall, let's talk about my thoughts on the deck as I kind of show you the different components and flick through it. Really quick, I want to talk about the box itself. I do not like the box and the way that it comes packaged. for a deck that is $40, so it's a little higher price point than most mass market decks, which are in the $25 to $30 range. I feel like you aren't really getting anything extra. It comes with this like weird dust jacket sleeve with the amazing hollow on it, but then you have this box, which is supposed to be a keepsake box, but like I don't have any use for this. It does not have any hollow on it. Your guidebook is a nice book quality, like it's very well bound. It's definitely gonna last a long time. But then you have a box within the box of the cards. So then I have to figure out how to store this like separate, or I have to store this giant box. And I have other boxes like these Llewellyn deck boxes, which come with a huge guidebook, tons of information, beautiful like card reproductions, color, gloss, the whole 9 yards. And inside you just have like the cards. This makes sense to me to have that. It's also not as thick. Like this bad boy takes up as much as like an 800-page book does. Like she thick. So it's cumbersome to store. Then you get the deck out of the box, and it just, I've never felt cardstock like this, and I don't really like it. The cards shuffle beautifully. It's a nice quality. It'll last you a while, but there's something about the way that they're cut and the edges. I have small hands, so how it feels on the edge is very important to me. And I don't know, it's almost sharp. It's not sharp, but that's the only way that I can think to describe it. It just doesn't feel nice in the hand. The images are stunning. Like the artwork is absolutely beautiful, but the backs just don't do it for me. And with all the hollow on the like box sleeve, I was hoping that the backings were going to be holographic, or at least something other than a couple tiny details on like 4 of the cards to be holographic. So those are really my gripes. They're all personal preferences, but they are things that are important to me, especially as someone who I live in a camper. Like I don't have a lot of space, and to have to house a deck in a giant box that I can't even fit anything else in, it's very frustrating. My other big gripe about this deck, and I'm going to get into the things I like, I promise. The other big gripe about this deck is it's supposed to be an animal spirit deck, but I feel like there's not much information about the actual animal, which is what I wanted. Like, I want an animal deck that actually tells me about the friggin' animal. Is that too much to ask? Like, oh my god. Like, I opened up to the cheetah, and it's like, the cheetah is the epitome of solar forces at work. The sun doesn't shine onto the cheetah, it shines from inside. This great creature expands outward to brighten the universe. Dude, cheetahs run super fast and take down their prey like that. That's what I think of when I think of a cheetah. Not that the energy within a cheetah personality is palpable to others, and they naturally attract an audience to bear witnesses to their remarkable achievements. But when I do need to hear that message, this deck is spot on. So I just wish there was more in the actual guidebook about the animals and less about, I guess it is the spirit, right? It is the spirit of the animal, but I just feel like it's really lacking for what I wanted it to be, especially with such beautiful illustrations and renditions of the actual animals on the cards. So let's talk about the artwork. The artwork is stunning. I have a really hard time with snakes, so the cobra card in here absolutely kills me so much, which is why I took me so long to buy this deck, was because I knew it had so many snakes in it. But really, that's the only card that really bothers me in that snake kind of way. I can kind of pretend that the scales on the back are dragon scales, especially with the dragon on the box. My brain is happy with saying that, but just something to note if, like me, snakes aren't your thing. Spiders too, there are a couple, you know, pretty good looking spiders in here. There's the tarantula and stuff. So I love the black and white images. I think the color used in this deck is unmatched. It's so friggin' beautiful. Like the way that she does the pops of color to match the actual like elements of the cards. I think that's beautiful. The cards are divided into suits, so the 4 elements, and then the spirit cards. And there's no way to know which animal is on which page. In the guidebook, you only get page numbers for the different elemental sections. And within the section, the animal names are not alphabetical. So you just have to kind of flick through everything in that section to find the card animal that you have, which I find irritating. Again, personal preference. Official final thoughts. I do enjoy the deck, but I am still on the fence about it. There are definitely things, as you've heard me rant about for the past like 10 minutes, that I dislike about the presentation of the actual deck, the way that it functions, the way that you store it, the way that the guidebook is set up. But the actual deck itself with the artwork, I think the deck is going to last a long time. The quality feels all right. It's not my favorite feel in my hands, but I can get over that. The images are stunning. When the deck is on, like the deck is on point, but it's not a deck that I can use, as we learned in the interview, for daily draws, which is something that's integral to my practice. I use cards every day. But I'm excited to see how my relationship with the deck evolves, especially after the random meditation experience the other day. So I'm not totally writing the deck off yet. I will give it another chance. I am considering experimenting with writing my own guidebook for the cards. Like pulling a card, writing down my own like message from the card first, and then incorporating some of the things from the guidebook that I enjoy, maybe researching the animal, writing a little bit about the animal, because like I said, that's really what I want. Is I want a animal deck that's going to tell me not only the definitory meaning of the animal, but a little bit about the animal itself, so that I have that base knowledge to then inform my own understanding of what that divinatory meaning is. Hopefully that makes sense. So I might consider doing that, especially because I do love the artwork of this so much. But yeah, so I hope that was helpful for you if you're deciding on whether or not to invest in the Wild Unknown Animal Oracle. I think the artist did an absolutely stunning job with the deck. I think there are some production issues and some gripes about the guidebook, but overall, it is a good deck. Just beware that you're going to have the space to store the big box if that is something that you do get. And you may want some type of book that tells you more about the specific animal if that is what you're looking for. So maybe that's something that I could look into myself. Yeah, let me know if you like this series. I'd love to do another one of these. Hopefully it'd go a little more smoothly. But like I said, I thought it was fun to get to show you what happens when I don't really click with the deck at first and how I navigate that. So I'm going to leave you here. Stop rambling. You've listened to me talk enough. If you do have this deck and you love it, let me know your experience with the deck in the comments below. I'd love to hear how it works for you. I think it's so interesting that different decks work differently for others. So definitely share that below. And with all that being said, I will see you guys again soon. Take care, guys. Bye.